The fragrance industry would not be what it is today, and we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for these 10 amazing fragrances. These are deserving of the utmost respect. These are fragrances that have changed the genre, they have changed the industry, they have done so much. I'm excited to share this list with you and also hear from you so you can tell me, what do you think are the designer fragrances that deserve the most respect? So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's video and I tell you about these 10 designer fragrances that have forever changed the landscape of the fragrance industry, and they have all contributed in such a powerful and prolific way to the industry and the development of it, I want to start the video off first by saying that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and please give this video a thumbs up for the algorithm. It would really mean a lot to me. So these are designer fragrances that are deserving of the utmost respect. And the first one that I want to start with is, believe it or not, a fragrance that I wore when I was in high school. And I was the only high school student wearing this fragrance, I assure you of that. And it's Paco Rabanne Pour Homme. Now, of course, this is a beautiful chypre. I believe it's a chypre. It has a lot of earthy, mossy ingredients, the oak moss in here. Of course, polo green deserves respect as well. But this is one that I wore, and I didn't wear polo green, my grandfather did. So I needed to make this list authentic to me. And of course, polo green and Drakkar Noir and all of these old school fragrances, Kuro, so on and so forth, they are deserving of the utmost respect. And lately I've been wearing the original Versace L'Homme, I think it's called, and I've been wearing even Lacoste Pour Homme with the white bottle and the green perimeter. A lot of these old school fragrances are quite wonderful. We also have Dior Homme. Now, of course, I have Dior Homme Eau as a presentation because I couldn't find my Dior Homme bottle. I was looking for it for 15 minutes. But let's just say Dior Homme. This modern sort of metrosexual, as people call it, masculine take on the note of iris, a floral fragrance for men, which is kind of unheard of by a lot of people, but it gave this sort of clean, understated quality about it, and I love Dior Homme, a composition by Olivier Polge, and I think that changed the landscape for a lot of fragrances to follow as well. So I personally love Dior Homme and all of the flankers that came out after it. Dior Homme Intense, Dior Homme Parfum, Dior Homme Eau, Dior Homme Sport, which is a beautiful ginger. So this line in general, I think, is phenomenal. And of course, this fragrance will forever have a very soft space and part in my heart. This one is by Viktor and Rolf, and it's Spice Bomb, the original Spice Bomb. Of course, we have Night Vision and Infrared and all these other flankers, the Eau de Parfum and the Pure Parfum and the Eau de Toilette and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, there's all of these trends in the industry, but the original Spice Bomb, once again, composed by Olivier Polge, this man has done a lot. This fragrance, that spicy cinnamon, tobacco, pink pepper combination in there, it took men's fragrances and it made them sweet, but in a different way. And I think this one is deserving of a lot of respect and a lot of attention. And of course, the industry wouldn't be what it is today if it weren't for this fragrance. We also have Acqua di Gio by Giorgio Armani. Please ignore my bottle. Once again, this is just for display purposes. I'm referring to the original Eau de Toilette, which came out in the mid-90s, composed by perfumer Alberto Morillas. This fragrance with that clean jasmine, the lime, the K-Lone, it's so bright, it's so uplifting, it's so refreshing. And once again, this changed the landscape of modern aquatic fragrances. Now, of course, there's a fragrance that came before it that did wonders, right? But this fragrance, of course, is still modern, even today. And as you can see, this is a recent release, the Eau de Parfum. So it just goes to show that even with Profondo, Profondo Lights, and Profumo, and Special Blend, and all these other fragrances, for them to continue to release flankers of it just shows that it has had a huge impact on the industry. Of course, we also have another mid-90s release. This one is L'Odyssée Pour Homme by Issey Miyake. And this fragrance with its yuzu and lotus ingredient is such a unique composition. It's smooth, it's soft, it's billowy, it's citrusy, it's a little tangy. The yuzu fruit is done exceptionally well in here, and what a classic, right? And of course, we've had Nuit d'Essai, and we've had all of these other flankers come out after it, which just showcase how popular it's been. Of course, I have to mention Dior Sauvage. even though a lot of people say, well, it's kind of boring and it's this and it's that and it's played out and everybody wears it and it's metallic and it's generic and it's whatever. Dior Sauvage is the best-selling designer fragrance on the market right now. Right? There's been so many flankers, and of course there's a lot of love for Sauvage Elixir because it's a lot of, you know, it conveys maturity, it's dressed up, it's sophisticated, it's this and that, but the original Dior Sauvage, one of the most complimented designer fragrances you can own. And of course, right before that, when talking about class and refinement and professionalism, we have Bleu de Chanel. This one has also had a few flankers associated with it, and of course Chanel is a brand that is doing quite well when it comes to men's fragrances, and Pour Monsieur is amazing, and of course Chanel's number 5 is amazing if we're going back to the 1920s, and there's a lot of other brands that could have been in this list, Guerlain being one of them, and they have an amazing history. And perhaps I'll do the same video but for niche, and I'll feature some niche offerings. But Bleu de Chanel, the grapefruit, the incense, just a wonderful professional fragrance. So we have Dior we have Dior Sauvage, there's another Dior, and that's Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit really took it to the next level. I believe this fragrance came out in 88 or 87, late 80s release. And this one with the violet, it comes across a little dirty. People say it smells like burning rubber or asphalt or petrol or whatever. And it was this quintessential, stereotypical masculine fragrance. And, you know, I love smelling it and I still love wearing it from time to time. And I have gone through a few bottles myself, and it's such a classic fragrance. You know, Dior Fahrenheit is one that I think everybody needs to own, even just for reference purposes, but it's an amazing fragrance, and you know, I can't sing enough praise for it. Of course, we also have the fragrance in the number 2 spot. This fragrance deserves so much praise, and of course the women's counterpart probably deserves a little more praise, and I'll expound on that in just a little bit. Angel for Men by Thierry Mugler, which is also now just called Mugler. This fragrance is an amazing fragrance composed by Jacques Huclier, and this fragrance is the first masculine gourmand. And of course, we also have fragrances like Angel for Women, which came out in the early 90s, composed by Olivier Cresp. That was like the first gourmand ever. And here we're dealing with caramel, ethyl maltol, we're dealing with patchouli, and this is just a different fragrance, way ahead of its time. And for that reason, you know, it took a few years, and this is something that I've gathered from actually speaking with Olivier Cresp in person, because he and I co-hosted an event together for Parfum de Marly, and he told me that it took a few years before the original Angel, you know, picked up in popularity and started to do well, because people were not used to that gourmand quality and fragrances, and now it seems like everybody loves gourmand perfumes, and so we have Olivier Cresp to thank for that. But the original Angel for Men is amazing, and the fragrance that I put in the number 1 spot is a fragrance that I still love wearing from time to time, and you know, it just makes me so happy to be able to smell this fragrance and to own this fragrance, and it's deserving of so much respect. And we've seen this perfumer grow exponentially. He has his own brand now, and this fragrance has been worn by every man out there. No, it's not Jope, and that could have been in this list, and maybe it should have been in this list. And there's a lot of other fragrances where I sit about and I think, and I'm like, could have been Ralph Lauren Safari, it could have been Polo Blue, it could have been so many other fragrances, and perhaps I will do a part 2. So if you want me to do a part 2, drop your comment down below, and also let me know which designer fragrance do you think deserves the most respect. Drop your comment down below. It could have been Shalimar by Guerlain, it could have been Heritage, it could have been any number of fragrances. I had to mention Le Mal by Jean Paul Gaultier, a mid-90s release, along with Amen and L'Odyssée pour Homme and the original Acqua di Gio. All of these came out in the mid-90s, 94, 95, 96, and it's quite fascinating how that was such a strong year for the perfume industry. Le Mal, mint, lavender, vanilla, such a beautiful combination of ingredients with that earthy patchouli and the dried down, and it smells a little bit like soil when it dries down, but it's flirtatious, it's playful, it's great for a night out. It is deserving of so much respect. And of course, we've seen other fragrances come out since then that have tried to utilize this DNA and kind of make it their own. And of course, people talk about Reflection for Men by Amouage, and There's so many other fragrances that have kind of mimicked the DNA of Le Male. I think Le Male is absolutely superb and I truly love it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. 10 designer fragrances that are deserving of the utmost respect. What are ones in your list? Drop your comment down below. Which is your favorite of the ones that are on this table here in front of me? Drop your comment down below. I always love reading your comments and I love the interaction. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode or if you took something of value from today's video, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching. I love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.